Hi everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Also, Happy New Year. So, the reason why I say that is we are very close to the actual New Year coming up in January. But we have passed the Celtic New Year of Sown, which you guys know as Halloween. And the beauty of this month and this energy that we just came out of is now that we're welcoming the new year, there's a lot that's coming up, especially in terms of the cathartic moments that we can have, and also I know I saw you guys earlier this month in November, so there's been a lot going on in terms of personal growth, personal development, connection to past lives, connection to the darker elements of our spirits that can offer such catharsis, that can offer such great wealth for us to transform. And so last week I was doing a lot of that transformation myself. I was focusing a lot on my personal practice, on asking some questions about myself, which is why I didn't get to see you guys last week, but we're back on River and Rune this week, and I just came back from a nice trip to Montreal to pay some respects to the land there that I was called to, and to see a couple friends that I was called to see as well. So that also was a part of that. So I want to say to you guys that we are currently in the month of the reed. So in the Celtic lunar calendar, the reed or nettle represents fire, transformation, growth, but also in Celtic traditions, its roots reached deep into the marshes. And so it often represented and was connected to the Celtic underworld deity called Dis, also cognate with Hades and with Pluto. So these energies that are connected to the underworld, that are connected to the chthonic elements of life, and also the ways in which we can connect to the fire within, to draw the fire from the center of the earth, from the depths of the underworld, so to speak, the underbelly of our souls, and to bring that fire forth. So, excellent month for transformation, for transition, carrying along the scorpionic energies of November, which nettle, the reed, tends to carry as well. We also have here in the book, it says, I am a threatening noise of the sea. So in Celtic mythology, also, or Celtic folklore, when you heard the voice of the ocean crashing on the waves and the roaring that comes with the winter months, that threatening noise often heralded the death of a king, alongside the screeching of the owl, November being the time in which the owl is the most noisy, the most vocal, we should say. And so nettle, the reed, and this 12th month of the lunar calendar for the Celtic people is connected to that loss of a king, the loss of the parts of ourselves that carried that royal energy. The reed itself also represents royalty. So it's about letting go of parts of ourselves that may prevent us from accessing that royalty, or perhaps it's time to get off of our high horse and to let ourselves experience the humility of accessing the deeper parts of our spirit, the truth about the emotions that we're going through, and taking those opportunities to learn more about ourselves and about the relationships that we have and the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. So very plutonic, very cathartic, very deep energies. So we'll get straight to the runes. Again, this is going to be the weekly reading, so this is from this week until next Wednesday, which is going to be the next rune reading, and we'll get right to it. Alright guys, so we have our runes here, and I also wanted to show you guys this rune altar that I created. So I didn't cut the wood myself. I got this at a craft store, and what I did was created this symbology around it. And so this is the Valknut, a symbol that's sacred to Odin, and it oftentimes represents, at least in the mythologies that we have available to us, because there are some contested ideas about what the Valknut actually means. But from what I have read, it has a lot of connection to the underworld, to the dead, to Odin as the leader of Valhalla. So the space in which all of the warriors of the past, honorable warriors, would go to. And so around here I also drew some rune staffs, which was really fun. But the purpose of a rune altar, especially if any of you are interested in getting into the runes, is to have a space where you can have your runes to rest properly. Also, a space where they can regenerate their energy. I like to use wood and a lot of as natural elements as I can for my altars, just because they carry the elemental energies that are still present within them. Wood being the element of earth, that strength, that fortitude, also that sense of patience and security. And also, the altars are can be used, and I will show you how they can be used. They can be used for rune castings, so we'll do that today, which is going to be fun. So let's get right to it. It's been a while since I've seen you, dear stones. Let me just tap into the energies here, see what we have for the coming week. A lot of runes this time. So, as you can see, using the altar, you'll have a very dedicated space to cast your stones, or to cast your runes, whether you use wood, stone, or any other material that call out to you in the creation of your runes or the purchasing of your runes. So when you cast, how I read it, all the things that fell within the altar are considered the elements that are appropriate to read for the coming week or for your question, right? And also, again, you start in the center, whirling around the seasons of time so that you can connect to what comes one after the other, right? The threads of fate that weave through our reality. Then we have, if you have any of them that fall very close to the altar, I tend to read that as, even though they've fallen offside, I tend to read that as like overarching energy that are available to you, the undercurrent. This is the underworld. This is the space that carries that deeper energy. So, to get right to the runes, the first one we have here is nettle, or Nalthis, sorry, nettle. We have the reed, and the association of the reed with Nalthis. So Nalthis being the need fire. It's the space of desire. It's what we need to create a space for ourselves. It's our drive, our passion, our ability to go forth and make something happen. If you're hungry, you go and make food. If you're thirsty, you go and get water. If you want something that's warm and you need a new coat, then you go and get it. That's Nalthis. That's the need, right? And so beginning this week, there's going to be elements in which we have to really focus on what we need in our lives. Not necessarily what we want, because we could want sweets, we could want like all these different things, we could want a new car, a new whatever it is that we can want. Oftentimes those are great arrows, great elements that we can put into the process of working towards those goals. But currently, Now-Thesis is about what do you really need. Take some time to ask yourself what you need. Do you need to sleep? Do you need time to rest? Do you need time to create boundaries for yourself? Do you need to feed yourself? It's really about the nitty-gritty of our emotional selves, our physical selves, and our mental selves. Moving on, we have Yera, which is the beautiful rune of harvest. So this rune for me is a very powerful rune because it represents the harvest, it represents reaping, it represents cutting down the seeds that you've grown and pulling the fruit from them. So with Now-Thesis, we have the need. With Yera, we have the harvest. So after the things that we place, really getting our priorities in order, asking ourselves what we need in our lives, then planting those seeds, watch later in this week the harvest that you will bring. Did you plant the seed of self-care? Later in this week, towards the weekend, you will harvest the beauty of that restoration. Did you plant the seeds of self-doubt? Later this week, you're going to reap the benefits and perhaps the difficulties of what happens when you doubt yourself. So keep that in mind. Later on in the week, we have Othala. So for those of you may be thinking about home, Thanksgiving is next week. At least the American holiday of Thanksgiving is next week. And so a lot of you may be going home, maybe heading back to the house, maybe heading back to your ancestral lands, maybe going somewhere that is special to you, someplace that you call home. Also, perhaps there is a return to the spiritual house, the spiritual home. In Old English, the word for the body is lihomen, or the lighthouse, that which houses the light. So going back to the body, going back to the self, going back to your home and taking care of that home. So it is a lot about planting these seeds of self-care, these seeds of joy, these seeds of creativity, reaping the harvest of those so that you can feed yourself and claim what belongs to you, your spiritual inheritance, to call back to yourself the parts of you that you may have left behind. So going home for a lot of us is going to be really restorative. It's going to bring up perhaps a lot of traumas, perhaps a lot of energies where we're dealing with pulling the fruits. It's almost like I see like picking like harvesting, picking leaves from the trees or picking leaves from the flowers, so to make an herbal tea. Like that is what I see. I see someone going through the forest and pulling leaves for a tea that they're making, or a stew, or a brew, something that they're making for their family. So that's something to keep in mind, especially with a lot of our returns to our physical homes, and also our return to our spiritual, emotional, mental home. And then the outside energy is Sowilo. So the sun. There's a lot of vital energy that's available to us in the undercurrents of our souls. So it really depends. How we take care of our needs is going to affect the energies that we'll have available to us. This fire, this vital energy, this transformation, the sun within. How do you take care of yourself so that this light can shine? Don't dim your light for anyone. Most of all, not even for yourself. And that is the energy that comes with Othala. That's the energy that comes with Now-Thesis. Also, keeping in mind that this is the 12th month of the reed. The reed being that fire that's connected to that chthonic energy of the underworld. So that fire, that energy that's available to us, that will assist us with its vitality in shining forth really depends on you and on your decision on whether or not you're going to dim your light, dim your energy for yourself. This is a lot to do with our subconscious choices and how we allow specific aspects of our psychology, allow specific elements of our spirituality, not necessarily our belief systems, but the spirituality in the sense of how we perceive the world works around us. How those specific elements can sometimes bring our energy to a space where we try to dim the fire that sometimes bursts forth to burn through the things that we may be holding on to. And sometimes that's a scary and terrifying thing to do. To love oneself is sometimes a very terrifying thing to do. So keep that in mind. Those are the runes for this week. A very deep energy. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed this reading. Again, thank you for coming back to River and Rune. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Also, I'm very grateful for you guys. I'm very grateful for sharing my practice, that I'm able to share my practice with you all. Also, I'm very thankful that I get to do this stuff and have you guys join me for it. So if you like the videos, please subscribe. I know there's a little button down below that says subscribe. Also, you can turn on the little bell notifications to find out whenever I put any new videos out, which will be many more to come. Also, look out for the romance readings that I'll be doing tomorrow. It's going to be a pick a stone reading. And through that pick a stone, you then get a specified reading for the stone that you picked. So it's going to be fun. So look out for that tomorrow. Also, thanks again, and thanks for coming back, especially after my little 1 week hiatus. And I'll see you all back here on River and Rune, okay? Have a great rest of your evening or day, wherever you are in the world.